If you're seeing this before June 17th, Mars is about to enter Virgo, where our South Node is, asking us to prioritize, defend, protect, and claim victory through Virgo-related aspects in our chart. Checking out Virgo, Mercury, and your 6th house is going to be beneficial for this on a personal level, seeing how this relates to that. Now, Virgo is the story of Demeter and Persephone, so let's talk about it. Persephone gets swooped up by Hades, taken to the underworld, sort of without her having a say in it. While she's there, she eats 6 pomegranate seeds, which binds her up in a contract that now she has to be the wife to Hades in the underworld. But eventually, everything upstairs in the upper world starts dying because she's not there. So Demeter, at least this is the way I tell the story, Demeter comes down to the underworld and is like, Hades, yo, you gotta give me the kid, you gotta give me my daughter back. You gotta give me my kid back because everything is dying. Everything is dying and we need her. We need her. So they come up with the deal. She's gonna be down in the underworld for 6 months and then she'll go back up for 6 months, and that's gonna happen every single year. This is part of the reason that Virgo has a lot to do with our health and our body. It's a lot about indirect communication. It's also where our contracts of Scorpio start. Even if we don't realize, even if we're unaware of the fact that contracts and exchanges are beginning, there they are. Libra, then we kind of like balance everything, and then Scorpio would be kind of the finality of the exchange. What are you going to do with it? How's it going to actually enter into your world? But Virgo technically would be the beginning part of where those contracts are. Now, the crossover of the South Node in Virgo and Mars entering Virgo, I think is going to be really interesting because the South Node having been in Scorpio, 2021 to 2023, that had a lot to do with our inheritance, with our family, with our ancestors, with our money, with our contract. Some of the stuff, not super fun, Some of the stuff that we got done during that transit, not super fun. So now that the South Node is in Virgo, one of the things about the lunar nodes is that they're always in retrograde. They always move backwards. So like, are they ever really retrograde if that's the only direction that they go, but they're always moving backwards. And the South Node in Virgo is really asking us to go through and get out of those contracts that we kind of really had the impact of during 2021 to 2023 when the South Node was active with Scorpio. So now that we're getting out of those, we're rebinding some new stuff. 2023 to 2025, while the South Node was in Libra, we were experiencing the justice and the balancing of the scales of what happened while the South Node was in Scorpio, 2021 to 2023. So now we get to get out of the contracts, and this is going to be happening until next year, 2026, when we go through the upcoming eclipse seasons of 2026. So Mars entering Virgo, what victories are you going to claim? Pluto's retrograde right now, supporting us getting out of contracts, supporting us unbinding ourselves from what has been done, and we get out of it. Now what are we going to do? What is the new? There's a couple other transits that are also offering us the position of starting something different and starting something new. One of the things about Mars and Pluto is that we are asked to really kind of initiate things with our will. We're the ones who've got to do it. And if we don't do it, it might not get brewed. Sometimes we inherit things with Pluto, but a lot of the times with Pluto being inheritance of the will from the ancestors, if we take that perspective on it, then it is kind of up to you to take the steps and do the new thing. So looking at the contracts that you've been in for probably a couple of years now at least, with those big long-term lunar node dates that I gave in the video a second ago, 2021 to 2023 and then 2023 to 2025, right? Mars entering Virgo, we have to keep in mind that Mars just went direct out of a retrograde earlier this year. Mars only retrogrades about every 2 years, so this is like fresh in the new start. We're fresh on the new direction. Mars will come for correction, direction, maybe sometimes some further inspection, So getting out of those contracts, if you're aware of the stuff that you've been like integrating for several years now, that you've been focused on for several years now, that you maybe didn't want to do, but you had to walk through it, and now that you're out of it, you're kind of doing new stuff. In the transition spot also, where Mars and Leo is right now as I'm filming this, super hot. Super hot, Mars and Virgo is going to ask that we start to change our spot, and that we do so through indirect communication, through things like action. We don't need to talk about it, we just need to get up and do it. Removing ourselves from the rooms and the spaces and the people and the places and all of that, where we know that the contracts that we've been in are still kind of around, If you know that you've been around people or places where the contracts that you've been in somehow are related to, it's probably a good time to kind of pick up and move on. One of the other things to note about Mars going into Virgo is sharing food with people and the new contracts that you are signing. Remember that Virgo, we don't always know that we're getting signed up for a contract. So Mars and Virgo, if you're sharing food with people, you're sharing communion with people, any sort of binding that could put you with other people, okay? Pluto also being in Aquarius has to do with how you're bound to society. With Mars and Virgo, we're going to be asking ourselves to sign up for some new contracts. So prioritize who, what, when, and where you're sharing communion with people, because that's going to change how your eclipse season goes when it comes to September this time and kind of for the next year and a half. And it's also going to shift our story once we get into Scorpio season this year. So because Virgo doesn't always know, we don't always know with Virgo what we're getting ourselves into. One of the questions, as someone who is a Scorpio and their sun is in the 6th house of Virgo, okay, one of the questions that I like to ask myself when it is Virgo related thing, especially with contract, if I look at the people that I'm around right now and I can see kind of like who they are in their spirit, who they are with the work that they're doing, how are they moving in the world, what are they involved in with their jobs, or maybe other stuff that you're working on, what do their fates and their luck look like? If you can look at that and be like, yeah, you know what, I would be okay with signing up for something unknown with that kind of energy. Might not be with the same people, might not be in the same place, but if it's gonna be with that sort of energy, if I'm okay with that, then I'm probably good. But if not, then comes in the discerning of, okay, do I need to protect myself? Should I ward myself out of this situation? There's a lot of other questions that you can ask at that point and in that position. That's kind of the discerning eye that I use when it comes to this space. So if you want to sit with that as a tool, then I'm going to recommend that as a, to witness it and then make decisions. With Virgo energy, it's usually best to observe and then move. Observe and then make your action. Observe and then say what you were going to say. I really love Virgo energy, so yeah. This could also be a time, because this has to do with Demeter and Persephone and their story, this could also be a time where the feminine is learning about power without the mother. What are you doing without your mom or without the mothers in your practice? You standing alone in the feminine energy, what power are you now claiming? What is being offered to you because you are not near the mom, near the mother figures, near the mother spirit? It's not to say that they're not going to be around. Clearly, obviously, the story of Demeter and Persephone, Demeter comes in and is like, tosses up some hands a little bit. I don't know exactly how it went down, those are stories kind of bigger than us and the details of how it happened, but I can imagine that some things were handled, okay? Yeah, that's what I'll say about it. So the mothers are still there to protect us. And also, if we accidentally get bound up into something that we maybe don't agree with or that we don't want to be in anymore, they usually will step in on our behalf to be like, hey, no more of this. So that's another plus side to this as well. So this ride of Mars and Virgo is a lot about casting a spell and doing it well, even if you don't have all the information and you don't know everything. Also, the Mars that is about to be in Virgo is going to be ruling over the Saturn and Neptune conjunction that's happening up until basically like the end of August. So be consistent with that discernment of who you're around and who you're sharing, what you're sharing with, how you feel about it. Is it comfortable? Is it not comfortable? Are you okay with signing up for some unknown contract? We're getting out of old stuff. We're working on binding up new contracts for long term. When I say long term, the lunar nodes are 18 years. Not that the contracts themselves are going to last 18 years, but it is more long term kind of cycles. Again, you could check out your 6th house, your Mercury, and your Virgo stuff in your chart to see how this is going to be affecting you and kind of do some study up in those areas. Mars is strategize, protect, and claim your victories. So if you know that there's meals you want to share with people that you love, you want to bring people that you love together, now is a really good time to do that. Since this does have to do with the South Node, I will say that Mars is going to be in Libra by the time that we get to our next eclipse season in September. So I would look at this as something that's like preparation for the eclipses to come through, as someone who works eclipse magic and works with the eclipses. So if you want to look at it as that, maybe looking at in September time, what is it that you're aligning with? What is it that you want to look at? What is it that the eclipses are really like focused on for you? Those big turning points. And then Mars and Virgo can become kind of like a tool of victory so that you can receive what you're asking for once the eclipses do get here. So that's it for this one. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up the brew. Keep doing what you do. I will too. I'm really looking forward to Mars moving into Virgo, to be honest. I think it's going to be pretty good. Interesting, yes. And also pretty good. And I'll talk to you next time.